Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Election 2015, our second show. I am Shalim Hussain. Last week we had some candidates for Labour, Lib Dem and Conservative for our local constituencies near East London. And today we have some more candidates for Labour, Lib Dem, Conservative and also UKIP. Today again I'm going to ask them why we should be voting for their parties, followed on by debates and discussions. So first I'd like to introduce Wes Tweeting, our Labour candidate for Ilford North, Tina Lashmore, Lib Dem candidate for Bethnal Green and Bow, Mina Rahman, Conservative candidate for Barking,
Assalamualaikum.
And Nicholas McQueen, UKIP candidate for Poplar and Limehouse.
Good evening.
So I'd again like to go to Conservative as they're the ruling party to ask them that we as ethnic Muslims, Bangladeshis living in this country, why we should vote for their party. So, sorry, Mina, why should we be voting for your party today?
Right. Well, thank you for inviting me to your show. The very most important thing, what we must remember, is after the worst recession that the last government left in, the Labour government, we have actually turned the economy around. It's one of the fastest growing economy in the world at the moment. And for the Bangladeshis, one of the most popular policies that we implemented, that Margaret Thatcher implemented, the right to buy policy, which has really benefited the Bangladeshi population because of that policy they were able to get on the property ladder. And in our manifesto we will extend that right to buy policy to housing association tenants, because as a housing office manager myself, a lot of people say, why is it that the council only have that, council tenants have that, and not the housing associations?
That's your, we'll come back to that. So sorry, why should we be voting for the Labour Party this election again?
Well, I think one of the reasons why the Tories are struggling at this election is because they tell us how great the economy is going, but people aren't feeling it in their pockets. And actually the Bangladeshi community, which has made a huge contribution right across East London. I'm born and bred in Tower Hamlets, and like lots of people from my background, from the Bengali community, gradually migrated out east to Redbridge. It's a community that's entrepreneurial, lots of small business people and entrepreneurs, but also a community that's disproportionately hit by poverty and sees around Tower Hamlets, around Redbridge, the inequality that exists in our society. And the Tories, the problem with the Tories, they always stick up for the few at the top. And Labour's always been on the side of the many, not the few, and that's our pitch for the election.
Thank you very much. Tina?
It's fantastic for the Conservative and Labour to actually identify that, and the Libs sit very clearly in between the two. So popular policies that we've introduced have been the raising before the salary that you can earn before you pay tax. That's been fantastic for Bengali communities and actually generally our communities across the board. In terms of getting people and young people into employment, we've got 2 million apprenticeships. And of those, I believe it's about 1,700 that has gone to ethnic minorities. So that would include Bangladeshi communities, as well as all the other communities in Tower Hamlets. So I feel that we represent what is called the middle ground, because I feel the other two parties have strayed too far to the right.
Thank you very much. Nicholas?
The rise of UKIP has a lot to do with the honesty. All of their manifestos, you could drive a bus for them. They're not telling us the truth, and this is a real poor start for the election. You know, as we know, the Lib Dem said no, they'd give free education, and they put it up 3 times the price. The Conservatives are not telling us where they're putting the 12 billion cuts on the less fortunate in our community. And Labour is the mansion tax. I mean, people would just make their properties smaller and evade it, and who's going to suffer? We are. So, yeah, UKIP tells you where we're getting the money from. £55 million every day from coming out of the EU. We're going to pull back a lot of our foreign aid budget of 30 million, and this is the money that's going to get you the 20,000 nurses,
Thank you.
8,000 doctors,
Thank
and
you,
change our
Nicholas.
infrastructure.
Thank you, Nicholas. So, Mina, I mean, what are you going to do? Bribe yourself into power again? You're going to give all these properties away, which the taxpayer owns, and you couldn't do it before. So just before the election, you're going to come in and give people hundreds of thousands of pounds. I think it's about $5 billion you're going to give away to come into power. Is that the plan?
Of course not. It's not. There's nothing to do with bribe. We've always been there for the hard-working people. And what Wes was saying earlier, you categorise people. You think the Bangladeshi community are poor. Bangladeshi people certainly aren't poor. We are one of the most hard-working communities.
So
and
I don't say they say about problem.
But what we're saying
can
is,
this money, can this $5 billion not
with
be better used elsewhere?
But we are using.
Subsidizing.
We're investing in the NHS. We're making sure that
you
people,
say you're investing in the NHS, and the public
people,
do not trust the stories with the NHS at all.
Well, with the NHS, yes, Labour may have invented the NHS, but Labour will ruin it. And all you have to do is look at Wales, what's happening in Wales.
I live in Wales. Let's not go to Wales.
No, but you're talking about the NHS, and I'm telling you about the NHS. We've actually ring-fenced the budget, protected the NHS budget. There are 9,000 more doctors in NHS, and
but all these public services, Mina, right? All these public services that NHS and other public schools and other public services got a huge strain because your leader came to power promising to cut migration to tens of thousands, right? It hasn't gone below hundreds of thousands. So the demand of the public sector of our public services is huge, and it will grow because your leader has failed to do what he promised to do. You also promised to cut the deficit, which he has also failed to do.
We have cut the deficit by a half. It's a lot less.
But you said by end of the parliament
less.
it will be finished,
Yes,
and it never has.
If you let me finish, by last February, we are £3.5 billion less in deficit what we owe now. So we have cut the deficit by half of what was owed. But the important thing to remember, when we took over the country, there was no money left in the for us to spend. So we actually had a lot to deal with in order to turn around the economy.
Okay.
And at the same time, we've actually reduced tax for 25 million people, and we've taken 3 million people out of tax altogether, the most poorest.
Thank you.
Plus, nothing to do with millionaires.
Thank you, Mina.
We've frozen council tax, and we have made sure fuel duty is free. These are dealing with cost of living on a day-to-day basis for living people.
Thank you, Mina.
Normal people.
So, Wes, I mean, is your budget really going to be written by Alex Salmond and SNP?
No, it's not. And I don't think
that's what
people underestimate the visceral hatred we have in the Labour Party for the SNP. We wouldn't touch Alex Salmond with a barge pole. And the idea that Alex Salmond's going to be writing our budget is absolute fantasy. Our budget, and we've put it on the first page of our manifesto, really clear that our spending commitments don't require a penny of extra borrowing. Why has Labour collapsed
in north of the border? Why does the Scottish people have went away from Labour in hundreds of thousands? Why has that happened?
You have to ask the Scottish Labour Party, to be honest. I mean, I think I don't think things are as bad as in Scotland as people are making out.
The polls can't be wrong, can they?
I do think, well, the only poll that matters on polling day, as we always say when you present tricky polls to us, the difficulty, I think, is that the SNP are presenting themselves as the progressives in politics. They're not. They're nationalists like every other grain of nationalists.
Yeah, but your party also said that you're going to cut the tuition fees by £3,000.
Yeah. And
how are you going to fund it?
Costed and paid for. So at the moment, people with the highest earnings, they get a disproportionate amount of tax relief on their pension contributions, and we think they should be the same as people on ordinary incomes. We'd like to go further, but we're not prepared to do a Lib Dems and make promises we can't keep.
This is not a proper costed plan, and it will cost the universities. And
actually quite the opposite. What we've got under this government, they trebled university tuition fees and policy.
Yeah, but you talk about that. Your party is the one who brought in tuition fees. Yes, Labour brought in tuition fees. It didn't exist before your party. Yeah. And then Lib Dem take all the blame for not being able to,
And we've apologised. Except, I was going to add this. We are the only party to have apologised. So we have made mistakes, and I believe we've made 2 mistakes. And we've apologised for both of those. One, the tuition fees. and won the spare room subsidy. But what we did, we apologised for the tuition fee, but when it came to the spare room subsidy, we learned. Not only did we apologise, we went back, drafted a report and explained how that could be delivered more fair to the people. So it's not as though we simply apologised and moved on. We apologised and learned from it. And I hope that people, people accept us on our redemption
journey. People do not want
journey.
apology. People want results.
This is no consolation to students who are going to be graduating with over 44,000.
As a student myself,
you brought it in. You brought it in.
Look, I used to be president. Look, I used to be president of National Union of Students fighting Labour governments on tuition fees. One thing I will say
So why don't you abolish it then? If your party brought this policy in,
because
you should go back.
There's one thing we learned from the tuition fee debacle, is that it's not just the fact that the fees were trebled and people are saddled with debt, it was the damage that was done.
Isn't it the case?
And if I was sat here saying to you, hang on,
isn't it the case that the tuition fees were working?
If I was sat in here saying Labour will abolish tuition fees, I mean, it'd be brilliant, and you'd be saying, how are you going to pay for it? What I am able to say is we'll cut tuition fees and tell you how we'll pay for it. We're not going to make promises we can't keep. We're not going to make promises we can't keep.
The tuition fees is working. Yeah,
it's not.
We've got.
It is.
How is it that
part-time student numbers have fallen? Applications have still not recovered what they were back in 2010.
More students for foreign families are going to university.
Part-time student applications and mature student applications have plummeted, and actually the numbers of proportions of people going to university have not recovered to pre-2010 levels. This is the fallacy. You look at the demographic bulge, there are more people eligible to go to university. As a proportion, it's shrunk. In actual numbers, it's gone up. But this goes back to the old adage of
under your government,
education is not in a good place.
The students from poorer families did not go to university. In fact, now more students from poor families. These are statistics.
I was a
These are
beneficiary.
national
First person in my
statistics.
family
So
to go to
you can't
university. I was
say
a
that.
beneficiary of the last Labour government's determination to make sure that kids who grew up on council estates and Tower Hamlets.
Do you have to pay the bill?
Thank you.
Do you pay for your pay the bill?
So
we don't want these guys to pay the bill either.
Let me give you a chance. So, Nicholas, first of all, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Do you know this is a channel that is watched by the immigrants and the Bangladeshi
Yes, I do.
migrants?
And that's what this.
And you're still here.
Oh, listen, this is left-wing propaganda. This country is built on immigration, and this election is not about where your grandparents come from. It's about us. When it's cold, we're all cold. This is our country, and we need to do
Nicholas,
what's best for the country.
Your leader says that he would prefer to give a home to immigrants from Syria and Iraq with a background of Judaism or Christianity.
Well, I've not heard.
Well, that was on the news all over yesterday, so you should.
What I heard was there was a Christian faction having problems to find somewhere to go.
What specifically your leader Farage, what specifically said, he prefers people from background of Judaism and Christianity than Muslims to come to this country. And then you come into a debate on a channel which is watched by Muslims only.
Well, I mean, that's news to me that there was any type of segregation, and because
majority Muslim, not Muslim only. Sorry.
Okay, I mean, UKIP is we stand up for British values.
So do you think
British values we give everyone the same rights on a level playing field.
Yeah. But your voice, the party's voice, is the leader.
Is the leader.
Is the leader who's going around and saying all these.
Well, that's not actually true. Sometimes it's an opinion. UKIP doesn't have a whip. So we don't sit here like these guys and just reel off what their leaders said. I and everyone else in my party gets a freedom of what I believe.
So do you want?
So, but the NEC of our party,
I mean, your party,
they create the manifesto.
But listen.
So opinion comes into us.
Nicholas, is your leader going to win this election in South Thanet? Is he going to win this?
I think the statistics are that he will win.
Okay.
But I mean,
if he loses Thanet South, we hear that he's going to resign.
I can't answer for Nigel Farage.
But
I can only answer for me
I understand,
and what my party believes.
If your leader loses Thanet South and he resigns, is it the end of the party?
Of course not. We've got so many fantastic politicians within the party.
The public, especially the public from our community, our Bengali and Muslim diaspora, all we see about UKIP is immigration and out of Europe.
No,
that's all we hear about.
Because we get 300,000 people come here. When I was a child, I went to the doctor, I got seen the same day. I have to wait 3 weeks now. I mean, our quality of life is eroding away. We need to take stock of the situation, and, you know, 300,000 people, we should have built a hospital for them. We should have increased the police force. But yet, everything's reducing.
I speak in another few more languages. Like I speak Bengali, I speak Hindi,
well done.
I speak
That's
Punjabi. So if I'm in a bus or a train, and I am with a fellow Bengali, maybe Mina Rahman, I may start speaking Bengali. Are you offended by that?
No, I'm not.
Well, your leader said he's very uncomfortable when he's traveling on train and buses, when he hears other people speaking.
No, I don't think
language.
he's actually said that. I think he was talking about Polish, Bulgarian,
so Bengalis are
Romanian.
okay, but Polish are not okay.
No, it's not about where the country of origin. It's about, if you've got a British passport, we're British, it's about us sorting out our infrastructure so we have quality of life. Because when our parents are ill, we want to make sure they get a bed straight away in the hospital, and our children are educated.
Do you think that because of what the nationalists are doing, especially the SNP, and how the Tories are now bigging them up, and they're putting the fear into the public, that if, I mean,
fear about what?
Majority...
Fear about Scotland coming to break up the Union?
Yeah, majority of your voters who voted for you in the EU and whatever are usually Tory voters. Now
that's not true.
No,
we got a lot of Labour.
You've got some Labour coming in.
No, it's about economics. It's not about race, it's about the space and the money.
Now, if...
A couple of Lib Dems have gone over there as well.
A couple of Lib Dems.
In Barking, there's lots of Labour.
If the Tories are successful of putting the fear of God, or shall I say, Sturgeon, into the hearts of the Tory co-voters, and they abandon you, and they all vote Tories, is the end of UKIP now?
UKIP is rising very fast. Even the polls today say, no, we've gone up even another point. I mean, it's about the money. We've got £100 million a day to invest into the communities of our country,
but
and fix a lot of problems.
You're taking money away from what do we contribute to the EU.
What's good about the EU then?
What you forgetting is the benefits.
What benefits do we get then? They're very little in comparison.
They are the biggest trading partner.
This is the big myth in the immigration debate, though, isn't it? You know, throughout history, when countries go through difficult economic times, it's really easy to blame the immigrant and the outsider. But
who's blaming the immigrant?
This country has been built for centuries off the back of immigration, and actually being part of the European Union gives us access to the largest single market in the world.
We've got access to that without being a member.
And links with...
We're just saying we can't trade with people because we're not a member.
These are crucial...
The taxes they put on us, the laws they put on us, they restrict our young businesses. We can't compete globally.
They give people more rights at work. They level the playing field.
Too many laws that are unnecessary.
That is why the Conservatives are proposing renegotiating some of these powers so that people, the British people, have a say whether they want to have a, you know...
But you're not allowed to renegotiate.
And to be fair, David Cameron's isolated himself in Europe.
Only the Conservatives...
And why do you believe as a Labour that we don't have the right as a British public to make the choice of a referendum?
Yeah.
Why do you think you're brighter than us?
Only the Conservatives will give a democratic right to the British people.
Position of we want out, therefore we want a referendum, that is logical. I don't know where the Tories are. I don't know if they want to stay in.
No, they're penalising us by doing a referendum up the
road. You don't want
have
to
anything
do
to say.
that.
You're not getting any chance.
You don't want to give a right to the British people.
Firstly, I'd just like to say that I had to go to the doctor today, and I was seen on the day of my illness, and I'm really happy for the NHS seeing me today. So I have to debunk your fact.
But you're not in Tower Hamlets.
I have to say that, well, actually, Tower Hamlets and Hackney share many similarities, and one of those was the infrastructure that we haven't invested in, which both boroughs, which is why I hot desk in both boroughs and help families.
So you're saying it's okay, the state of the GP service at the moment?
I am saying that today I went to my GP and I was seen on the same day, and I'm very happy that I got some medication and that I'm here this evening. So I want to thank the NHS. I also want to say, in terms of our relationship to the EU, now, in terms of where you are in your life, with all due respect, it may well be that you feel that you're perhaps coming to the greener period of your life, the greener pasture period of your life. But for our young people who are doing apprenticeships, our young people who are investing in their education, they need access to the greater market. Now, if that journey takes them into a European country so that they can have their prosperity, develop their future, then who are you to stand in their way, sir?
No one's standing in their
You
way.
will stand in their way.
Those
You
opportunities
will
exist whether we are a member of the union
Those
or not.
opportunities exist
Why
now.
would they not exist for them
When
then?
I go to Europe, what's really beautiful about it is I'm not called
We're
an
not saying we
immigrant.
don't go to Europe.
Except when our European
Okay, guys.
We just don't want
relations
them
come
governing
here,
us.
they are,
They're
and that's
governing us.
We have to take-
unacceptable
we have to take a
language
break
and
now quickly.
behaviour.
I think you just don't understand how it really works.
We can start when we come back from break. I mean, we are the true competition to Dimbleby here. As you can see how hot the debate is getting. So we'll see you after the break.
আপনারা দেখছেন ইলেকশন 2015।